Hey Aries. So in the beginning of this month, you start off very strong. But let's define strong. I think you're feeling full of fire. And there's a lot you want to do. There's a lot you want to get done. You have the energy. I'd say in the first week, do it. As this comes out, you'll probably be rounding out to the part where you feel like you've just been going, and you need to take a step back. Where you may need to take a look at how much you're doing as opposed to how much you're receiving. How much you're doing as opposed to how much you are making progress. I think that's the better word. You might have to have a conversation with a Leo in your life. It seems like it will be one that makes you possibly understand where each other is at and their perspective and what your perspective is about, working together, what, the independence means, but also what it means to do it together. And I think that if you really decide to be constructive about this, because Leo energy is very strong, then you can come to some kind of terms by the end of the month. Just be wary of wanting to do things on your own or your own way of thinking and not incorporating it with, especially if you have a business partner or if this is just a romantic partner in your life. That's where values need to come together. And you've been doing it. It seems as though that you've been doing it on your own for a while. And if you've had trial and error, then it's time possibly to take up a different perspective. Again, that too hot to handle. Like, yes, that's, you may be someone who is getting a lot done and doing everything, but then where does this come into play? Some of you may just be slowed down, and it's not a slow down to slow you down like on purpose or to make you feel like you are moving too fast. That's not it. It's just like realizing that not everyone's on the same page as you or at the same pace as you, and coming to that acknowledgement is really important for like at least your most intimate relationships. You may realize that a part of you who used to come up, part of your personality that used to come up more, there's a part of you that just has like shifted or even died. There's a part of you that hasn't felt yourself in a while, like when you're just feeling in yourself, very dropped in. And there's a situation, there's a moment or a few moments this season. It's nothing going to be huge realizations, but maybe it's being in gatherings around people. And I've also been talking a lot about the opposition of, being around a lot of people and then going home, to more of a quiet place during these holiday seasons. I think the most important thing for right now is to also gear you towards your future and talk about the future a little bit. So if you're looking at your future and you're wanting something specific, you may have to change the way you used to hang out or do these kinds of times, especially right now. Once you begin feeling more in yourself, you almost want time to yourself. Yeah, of course you want to go out or do and do the things, but think about what you'll be actually doing in the future. And if you're surprised sometimes at your answers, that's okay. You're understanding what has hurt you before and situations that you can avoid now. And it's not about avoiding it because in terms of stuffing it down or not wanting to acknowledge. It's because you acknowledge these things that you avoid them. Because when you're not saying and doing and it's not coming together in alignment, then your words, who you are, those things aren't going, it's not going to hold anything up. So it's kind of like a reiteration of what's underneath, but or an expansion really about what's under the cards underneath those. So in the strength that you take up, and in this place of feeling accomplished, but then realizing that you may be outpacing people or just moving on. And it's not like a competition or a race. If that's the way you want to think about it, that's fine. That's why I worded it like that. But it's more just about like your evolution. And this is speaking so directly to your evolution, because what you've realized through this insight within yourself that may have hurt before, that now you're learning to avoid, there may be a part in the middle of the month where you reflect and realize how like little you were given, you know, how much you, but then you have to remember like what you're given is also slightly what you allow, like deep down. So there's a heart wrenching moment that happens with yourself this month. And you may only want to speak to whom it may affect. You don't obviously need to answer to everyone, just even though you have like the energy and the fire and the wherewithal doesn't mean you have to keep it like constantly be telling people your business. You may want to have some like deep insights, like with whomever you call, the universe, God, the higher power. Those are where your conversations are going to be used more successfully, because some of these things that you say in this season, in this time, it's not like people don't care. They do. Some of them don't. Let's be honest. But they're not going to hear you correctly. You know, this month, as much as it's the best thing to be, is present in the moment and every day. And that's like what I try to do every December, because if not, you're thinking about what you have to do, where you have to go, who you have to see. And then remember how I'm saying is have to. Like, who do you want to see? Who do you need to see? You know, where do you actually need to go? What do you actually want to do? And if there's this Leo, Virgo cusp, and then Aries happening. If there is an Aries in your life that you don't feel like you can trust nor rely on anymore, I think it's about time you trust that. It doesn't make you a bad person to just let go of situations that you can't, that like, no, there's no need for forcing. Like, you don't almost want to admit it because like some kind of aggression is a part of your personality. But instead of, it's a similar thing. It's a quality that the fire signs share. I think Leo's the best at being vulnerable with their feelings in a very productive way. So maybe that's what Leo is also showing you and giving you value, adding value to that in your life. Like, it doesn't have to be just all a critical conversation. It's probably like a very honest one that you want to have. And not just all about them or not just all about you, but this connection that maybe wasn't there. And then to be brought out even more, you may feel like during the course of the month, what you're saying and how what you've said to this one person has been taken, like you now see it in your whole life, and you realize that the context just, it isn't timing to say things, because it may be taken in a different way. And remember where you're coming from when you say them. Instead of coming at someone most likely feeling unloved, you could just tell someone you miss them or you care about them. Like, using this of like, okay, if this is how you're feeling, and maybe a Virgo opened this door for you, and now you have like the platform to say something, and now you have the moment to say something, like, what do you want to say? And if it's only coming out in a way where you're being more combative, or coming from feeling lesser, not good enough, or like you haven't been heard, then it's more than likely that it will continuously be that way. So when you get that moment, sometimes I even take a few days to respond to something. But if it's like in the moment, you can choose to say, hey, like, can we pick this up at a different time? I need to just process. And that's what you've learned from the past. Like, instead of saying, I can have the upper hand here, it's not about having an upper hand. Again, it's like, if you want that competition mode, that's fun and cool, but with the people that you care about, or that you want to care about you, that's not how we go about it. It's time for you to, see yourself slow down. And it is a very slow down month where you're kind of being put in your place to an extent, but it's not that because you deserve it or you're being punished. And for some of you, maybe you do, but it's more just like, do you want to continue this? Because you'll see this again next year. If you don't start to do it now, like, it will become lesser within yourself. I've been sharing quite a lot lately that, like, sometimes I go into meditation and have conversations with people. There are plenty of people that I've yelled at in meditation. Yeah, and you could yell at them too. Like, if you want to, go ahead. You're just not going to get anywhere. You're going to get yourself, like, feeling worse. And, like, instead, maybe the question's like, how do you feel? How do you want to feel better? Maybe you are too hot to handle, and maybe you take that right off into the distance and you come across people that really care. Like, you have a whole new beginning that you've worked really hard for, and that's okay. Maybe it's just this one thing and this one part of yourself that just needs way more love than you were ever given or willing to give, and now you have to be vulnerable, go into the unknown in the Sagittarius world, and because you've come to this point where some things just aren't working or adding up. Like, again, that similar context of what I was saying before, and you just don't, it just feels off. And now that you're really privy to that feeling, you're wanting to run with it, because it is that season, like, to, be somewhat of a detective, but also have fun along the way. I think not taking things so personal this month from the external world, instead work, like, taking that internal in times, like, do the dance of going in and out, but it's not going to be super easy for you this month. Unless you stick to your craft. As much as you want to get together with people, there will be times where you just don't want to. That's a conversation you might be having with someone, whether it's your partner or someone that you're in partnership with, like, business-ship with, relationship, or it's your friend that's dealing with the same thing. Maybe it's, you have the accountability there. Like, maybe instead, like, maybe you both decide you don't want to go out, hit each other up instead, and work together on your own things or whatever you're doing. Like, maybe you find that that's the kind of connection you need, so that when you are around a whole bunch of people, if that's how you celebrate and if that's what you want to do, it won't feel as different. Or, if you can't get out of those places of going and seeing people, even though you don't want to be around them, make plans maybe for after with people who you get it with, or doing something that really counteracts how you felt there. Like, giving yourself what you actually need, pretty much, is what I'm saying. And that's kind of the basis of this month. I know we talked about it a lot, but it's what's best, and that's how you're going to feel your best, when you actually do have some sense of control, some sense, come another cardinal season next month in Capricorn season. Because you'll be given a little bit more leeway, and this will be cleared up. You may find that if you're in relationship romantically, that you deepen that connection, because you've given some of the work over, and it's not being, like, forced, it's just coming so quickly. And it's allowing you maybe to even have a grander idea. And then, next month you'll start making the plan and mapping it out and doing concrete things with whatever that is for you. And it doesn't have to be something that turns into something. It could just be something you've been wanting to do for a while, and now you have the wherewithal, the space. Sometimes when people say, like, I just don't have the time, I don't have this, a lot of times it's because their inner world isn't being nourished. So you can constantly be in your head or be here, and, like, you can get stuck. Even an Aries can get stuck. But what happens is you get stuck into repetitive responsive patterns, and you can tend to even push people away with that. And that's not what you want anymore, is what I'm seeing. It's okay to push the wrong people away, you know, but they're the ones who always want to stay for some reason. Go figure. All right, Aries. Leave yourself time to process. Again, don't be too strong-willed enough to reach out if you need any help this month. And you'll see that your personal life, the more depth you get there, the more that you want to externalize it in a way in which you've already been doing. So you're not starting anything new, but different ideas can come to your head, processing, even taking some accountability or giving people the space to take their own, you know. It's not so bad this season. It's a good time to do these things. It can get harder next season if you decide to hold it in. I know, a lot, but we'll talk more next month, and we will see you then. Bye.